Good day, everyone. There's a shark in the water. There's a shark in the water. There's a shark in the water. I'm a little hypomanic this morning, and I thought I'd let you guys see this side of me. So I tend to be a little silly, quite upbeat, very bouncy, and it's the gift of it's the gift aspect of a condition like bipolar. Um, I get these lovely moments, and they last for quite a while. This will probably last for a few days, at the very least. And it's when I get the most work done on my projects. It's when I get my to-dos done. I try and cram as much in as I can before depression and anxiety kick back in. I won't be vlogging every day, I don't think. I mean, I could if people are actually interested in watching and have something to say. Because some days when it's bad, I don't really do much. I don't really get anything done. I still look that. Um, so yeah, I want to talk about hypomania and some of the risks. So when you're hypomanic, hypo meaning sub, so submania. As I said in my previous video, mania can include psychotic symptoms, and the dangerous part for mania, as well as on some level hypomania, is that you'll go too far too fast and you'll crash, and then that'll lead you into a very dangerous depressive episode where you're like, oh, all the good feelings gone and now everything's horrible and I want to kill myself. But also it can lead to risky behaviour, which can be promiscuous, it can be overspending, it can be doing crazy things like just wandering off with strangers or things like that. And with hypomania, less so, but it can still be a risk for people to who experience these kinds of things. So what's hypomania like? It's a little bit euphoric. It definitely feels amazing compared to compared to depression, and it's a relief from the from depression, definitely. And say it gives me most creative ideas. Like today, I've got some work to do. I've got some stuff I need to sort out. I'll probably have a good tidy up later. I'll cook something. I haven't got much to cook with, but I'll probably make myself a nice pasta dish or something. Improvise. I feel really hopeful. I feel really determined, and like I'm going to do everything. And people like Stephen Fry have attributed their success to their manias. Generally, most people, when they talk about bipolar, they don't actually tend to distinguish between hypomania and mania, just to sort of simplify things, but there is definitely a big difference between the two. So mine's going like that. Yeah, so this is like also when I have the most confidence. When I feel like this, I have so much confidence. Like if I'll get myself scrubbed up before I leave the house. I look terrible, but when I go out, I'll be making small talk with strangers. I'll be smiling at people. I'll feel very. I hate to admit it, but I get a little bit of sense of arrogance. I don't quite reach grandiose delusions, but I definitely feel more. I just have an arrogance about me a little bit. Not in a horrible way. I don't look down on anyone while I feel like this at all. I just feel more elevated about myself. Like I feel sexier, even though I look like shit right now. I feel sexier. I feel more confident. I feel more friendly. I feel more open. I feel much more able to engage with life. And this is why when a lot of people talk about bipolar as well, like when Stephen Fry interviewed people, there were some people who were really, really the manias do not do anything good for them. It just becomes anxiety. Really, it just becomes an almost agitated depression for them, like a really agitated depression. But if asked if they would turn off the condition, they said no. And when I feel like this is exactly why I wouldn't turn it off. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's this is, like today I'm going to get some work done, and I want to sit down. I'm going to sit down with Unity later. I just started fiddling around with. I've actually started my game about bipolar, and I've got some ideas I want to add to it, sketch out some stuff. But I'm just going to start fiddling with Unity and learning to throw some stuff up for a prototype. I wouldn't be able to do this normally if I just suffered from unipolar depression, and in some ways, despite bipolar being seen as the more severe condition, I actually feel grateful for the other side, for this side of things. I don't have. Thankfully, I don't have an overspending urge today. I'm really being careful because I don't have a lot of money to overspend. A tenner is overspending, unless it's for food or electric or tobacco. Less so on tobacco, but yeah. So this is me. Like, when you've seen me, a few of you have seen my brief. I've again, and I'll probably be something I try and cram in today. I'm going to try and do like a million things today, but I'm going to take work first and then fun stuff later. But this is like when you've seen my biggest boss character, that comes from a place of hypomania, because I just have I lose the compunction to worry about. I just get into the idea, I just go with the flow, I just get right into it, I feel silly, I feel happy, and it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. As you can see, I feel quite good. Hopefully I've got a nice little glint in my sexy little eyes. See, look, what this is hypomania. This is the other side of it. The bad news is that there will be depression waiting on the other side when this wears off, but it's worth it. It is worth it. It's a gift. It's given, like I said in my last video, it's given me unique perspective. Couple of things I do want to address before the end of this video, because I have a tendency to ramble. Firstly is, and it's gone. Jeez, I know what the other one is. What's the first one? I'll talk about the other one first. Okay. So, rapid cycling is something that I seem to be experiencing. So, rapid cycling is when you are constantly not changing on the hour. That's the common misconception about bipolar. Is you're up, you're all day. It's not necessarily like that. It all depends on your personal rhythms. But with rapid cycling, what it means is that you are continually changing. You're not having any stable periods, which a lot of people who are going untreated experience. So if you're not taking any medication, you're not exercising, you're not sleeping, you're under great stress. Being under stress can cause rapid cycling as well. If you're experiencing great life stresses, that will cause you to rapid cycle, and that's definitely something I can speak to. Being under a lot of stress, but yes, you can rapid cycle, and that means continual, ongoing change, and that's, as I say, that's something that's often misunderstood. Is that there are no stable periods for bipolar people. We're always all over the place, and that's not necessarily true. We can have stable periods, and in fact, the point of treatment is to get yourself to stable points where you have less episodes, and when you do have them, you know what to do, you know how to deal with them, you know how to avoid the worst of the lows, and to not go too far when you're in the highs. Here it is, come back now. And it's a perfect place to end the video. I'll lead into that into a second. So, very briefly, medication and therapy. Now, I know a lot of you with depression or with any other mental illness at all may have the concern that medication will turn you into a zombie. Now that may be true for certain medications and for certain people, but more over it's really about the medication and the dosage and so on. And there is an adjustment period as well, so you can't just go, oh, it's been 2 weeks, I still feel like shit, or I feel foggy. These will lift over time as you get into regimen, and also as you stabilise through therapy and through life changes, you'll start to find that fog lift. So don't be afraid of a transition period. Do seek help. I don't like go, oh, you should all have medication, but I would certainly advise trying it. Particularly if you have severe depression or bipolar or schizoaffective disorder or borderline personality disorder and ADHD and so on. And it's not something to be afraid of. It really isn't, and there's no shame in it. Which leads me on perfectly into the last part of the video that I wanted to talk about. So over the last month or two, I've been talking quite openly about my experiences, and people have said I'm brave, and I don't. It's a wonderful compliment, and I thank you for saying it, but I don't feel that I'm brave. I feel it needs to be said. I feel it needs to be out in the open. I don't feel any shame or stigma for who I am and what I have. It applies equally for anyone in the LGBT community. They are who they are, and they are born that way. So why should they be shamed? I feel exactly the same about mental illness as I do. People have sort of started to use the term coming out about mental illness as well. And I think it is important to speak up about it. I know it's not always easy, but I don't feel that I'm brave for doing so. This is just something I want to share. It's making my experience better, because I'm getting to talk about it, I'm getting to share it, I'm getting people to understand me, and hopefully we'll find some common ground that I can understand them. So I don't think of it that I just don't think of it that way. But I thank you for the compliment. I just think if you know people with mental illness, which you probably do, it's quite statistically common. It's good to understand them. These are, even if they don't always outwardly show it, these are wonderful people, and they have a lot to give, and they have a lot of love, and they may be suffering, so it might not always show. They might be irritable, they might be grumpy, they might be antisocial, they might be anxious. It's not a reflection on you at all, and it shouldn't reflect badly on them. So, but the more we talk about it, the more we push, hopefully we can start to come to an understanding where we take it as seriously as we take physical illness. I mean, research is showing that there are genes involved. There's certain. It's not just one gene. You can't just go, it's the bipolar gene, it's the depression gene. It's as with anything genetic, it's a connection of certain genes, and obviously they all become common when it's passed on. But that's why it's some mental illness can sometimes skip generations or pass over for certain family members. And I am rambling far too long, but this is hypomanic me. This is what I'm like. I'm pushing for a good day. The other side of hypomania and mania can be irritability, but because I'm in a good place mentally today, thankfully I don't think that will be a factor. Thank you for everyone who's watched and subscribed recently. I don't know if I'll vlog every day. I won't always feel up to it. I'll certainly try to do a few updates a week, rather than make any promises. There you go. Any questions? If you want more information, feel free to ask me. I'm an open book in that regard. And if you want to talk in private and get some advice on getting help, I'm here for you. You can give me a shout. Alright, thanks guys. I'll see you in the next video.